Good morning, world. This is Baba. I'm going to welcome you to my podcast, Chats with Baba. The purpose of these chats is to inform and empower parents of young Black children. Parents are the first and foremost teachers in their lives. To inform parents is to enable them to release the natural genius in Black children. Black children have untapped and undeveloped gifts. The quality of experience and exposure lays the foundation for life. So we want to move from miseducation to education and strive for excellence. Today, there are a number of things I want to kind of talk about because we're at the end of the school year. And so there's a host of graduations going on, a host of things bringing the year to a close, and a host of things going on in terms of preparing for next year. So I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, let me go back to last week. We had an excellent person on, and she'll be featured in next month's newsletter. Yvette Mans talked about literacy and the kinds of books and things that we should be exposing our children to. So I'll connect the dots in just a moment. So here we are, graduation, and I've been to a number of them this week, some real, some virtual. Schools are shutting down in preparation for the summer, trying to figure out how to make up for some of the loss for this year. But there are a couple of things that came to my attention this week. I want you as listeners, particularly the parent audience, to kind of attune your ear to. You often hear me say four things, and I try to mention them in each podcast. Remember, the goal is to unlock the genius in our children. That is the goal and purpose of this podcast. What they now in the industry call executive skills for children to learn and or master. And those executive skills are the four things that I constantly make mention of. Listen, pay attention, follow directions, start and finish a task. Now, you don't actually sit preschoolers down and teach those four things, but as you are observing them and find opportunities where you can engage them to listen, you can engage them to pay attention, and where they're in some instances can't get something started, you can facilitate engagement and get them to listen, pay attention, follow directions, start what it is that you want to do and finish it without having to give direct instructions to do that. You engage them and facilitate that. So that's an important piece because those are foundational skills that can contribute to their success in school. But I want to share a couple of things, stories about parents that I observed this week. And it talks about parents' commitment to their children as well as investing in them. This particular father saw his 2-year-old splashing around in the water. And at some point, she got some water in her nose and was kind of choking. But they were able to resolve that. But what he said came to him was he couldn't swim. And what if something happened to his daughter? How could he help her? So at 40, he went up to learn to swim so that if his daughter engaged in some something in the water, he was able to rescue and or save her. And so that was an important commitment and investment on his part. The other situation that made national news was this 2-year-old, the youngest ever to be enrolled in Mensa, MENSA. Mensa is an organization for people who have extraordinary high IQs. And she was admitted to Mensa at the age of 2. Well, when they interviewed her parents, the parents said, there wasn't anything that they did to get her to that point, but they just spent time observing her. And around 18 months, they noticed that how well she was grasping concepts, and so they spent time watching her when she was doing things. And based upon what they saw, they would then engage themselves to facilitate it. So so in Mensa, people have IQs 140, 150 on up. Now, what I'm saying is, as this podcast was actualized, it is to unlock the genius in our children. She clearly demonstrated that, and her parents saw that she had some skills there and some knowledge and some things going on that they then latched on and engaged to facilitate it. And what I'm saying to you is that as a parent, by spending time observing your children, they will always give you cues about their capacity, what they're capable of doing. And so the task then is for you to kind of facilitate that. Now, having said that, let's fast forward. Take children of today. 15 years from now, they'll be coming out of high school. 20 years from now, they'll be coming out of high school, going on and having completed college. So there's another whole area of opportunities opening up in what they now call cyberspace. And the what does that have to do with young children? Well, you hear a lot of conversation on STEM, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I enter into a weekly webinar on math. I used to teach math and science, but some of the language and concepts have changed. So I do that just to upgrade myself. And what I'm saying to you, parents, is that by laying that solid foundation during the early years, as they progress through graduations, i.e. preschool, they now have graduations in kindergarten. I may have some difference with that, but that's not this conversation. But and middle school, high school, high school, and on to college. My granddaughter graduated the other day from one of the high schools in Cobb County, and I virtually participated. As she walked across the stage, I can say as a grandfather, I was very proud because she graduated with honors. As she walked across the stage, and they handed her her diploma, and she sat down, I immediately texted her and said, "You have reached one of the major milestones in your life that will open up the pathway to opportunities that will avail themselves to you." So the whole notion of preparation is critical. The whole notion of readiness is critical. The whole notion of enabling children to maximize their potential is critical. And you are a critical factor in that. And so what I am saying that is, as the year closes, what do we do between now and August? Well, there are several things. I think what is important is that they continue having opportunities to read. They continue to have opportunities to kind of at least engage themselves in things that will stimulate the mind, and so forth and so on. So as the year closes down on this virtual learning, it seems like most schools next semester will be gearing up for face-to-face teaching, learning as we've done in the past. Children may have some anxiety, and recognize that. That's a reality because they've been away, and They want to have some assurance of being safe and so forth and so on. So you as a parent have the opportunity to listen to them, listen as your children who are school age talk to you about whatever their concerns are, and to give them some assurance that things are going to be all right. I kind of got off task there for a moment, but nevertheless, all of what we're doing is preparation. As I continue to chat with you in these podcasts, it's sort of like helping you to construct that foundation for your children's intellectual development, and as they're moving forward, for you to pay attention to them. So, what you're helping your young children to do in the conversations that I've made an effort to share with you is helping them to develop habits of the mind. Habits of the mind where they're thinking, habits of the mind where they're using their energy to solve problems, habits of the mind in terms of how to initiate something, that is, get it started, and habits of the mind, how to bring it to a conclusion or a closure. And one of your fundamental things is to observe them as they're doing this. I would say to you that your children will be living in a time that's going to be very different from where we are now. We're living in a fast-moving world, and to have a solid base in literacy, the ability to read, the ability to do math, the ability to problem solve, the ability to think creatively are key factors as they move forward. The other piece is this, and I'll share this with you. I remember many years ago, this mother enrolled her child in a preschool program. And the preschool program had as a carrot, if your child completes this preschool and completes high school, we have a scholarship offer for that child. That mother took that letter, held on to it, and when her child finished preschool and finished high school, the mother presented that letter to the president of a college, and the president honored it because that was a commitment that was made many years ago. Since then, in the state of Georgia, there's now the Hope Scholarship. And, if you play the lottery, the money from the lottery supports the Hope Scholarship. And there are other scholarships. My point is, as I watch these graduations, you would hear students being awarded $1 million worth of scholarship opportunities, and on and on and on. And I happen to know a couple of children who have been given full academic scholarships for what they've done over the course of their life. Now, what does that mean? That means a well-oiled machine with a good foundation has all of those as possibilities moving forward. So as I bring this podcast to a close, I want you to consider, as you look at your children, that you see in them the very things that we talk about here, that genius. And it doesn't cause you to go out and have to buy a lot of stuff. What it does call for your commitment to invest time with them and to spend some things on some resources. But there's so much out there that if you are a resourceful person, that it can minimize the amount of money that you have to spend. Libraries, there are other programs sponsored by the Recreation Department. the YMCA, the YWCA, and they have programs for preschool children. As quiet as it's kept, the Y is one of the biggest preschool providers in the country. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Go to my website, and you'll see the books that I have there. One that says From Roots to Wings Revisited clearly lays out a lot of this. In next month's newsletter, I'm going to feature Miss Manns, her book, and the books that she's writing and where they are coming from. So with that, enjoy your day.